Hello, and welcome to Module 2 of the L.I.F.E program. This module is designed specifically for students who may be interested in careers as global employees for international businesses. Today, we'll cover the foreign exchange market, currency conversion, and you'll also hear from an educator who will share tips on what you can be doing now to prepare for such a career. Our main component, however, will be 3 interviews where you will hear from young professionals who are actual global company employees, and they will briefly share their work experiences in other countries with you. My name is Kiana Mitchell, and I am a member of the Pontchartrain chapter of the Links Incorporated in New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm excited to introduce to you Ms. Jessica Butler Oliver, who works in inventory planning management for Gucci Americas Incorporated. Ms. Butler is a graduate of Tulane University, and she currently resides in New York City. She has 10 years of global fashion industry experience, and we are excited to have her with us today. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm excited as well.
So we don't have a lot of time, Ms. Oliver, so I want to just jump right on in with the first question for you. How often do you have to travel outside of the United States in your career, in your job?
So obviously, COVID has definitely impacted the way we travel, not only domestically, but internationally. But prior to the pandemic, I would travel outside of the US at least twice a year to Italy, Milan specifically, for the seasonal buying campaign. And just to give a little bit more context on what that is, the buying campaign is when the regional buying team from every country, every region, they travel to Milan to view the collection in person to decide what pieces from this collection are going to be most impactful for your specific market, because obviously the types of consumers that we have differ from region to region. So the collection that each regional buying team is going to buy is going to be different. So yeah, I would travel to Milan twice a year for the buying campaign.
And what is the biggest challenge you have faced with working internationally?
So there are 2 main challenges. One challenge is, of course, just the natural time difference. So for example, my global team, they're based in Italy, some in Florence, some in Switzerland, I believe. But in both cities, they're 6 hours ahead of New York. So when we're starting our workday, they're pretty much marching towards the end of their workday because it's afternoon time there. So when, urgent things kind of pop up after their work hours in Italy, it can definitely be a bit stressful, trying to get a response or get an answer from an Italian colleague because, it's already, their evening, their dinner time, or, they may even be asleep. So the time difference can definitely be a challenge at times, especially when something is urgent or pressing. And then the second biggest challenge is the language barrier. Thankfully, most of my Italian colleagues speak English, and obviously they speak very well. But the opposite side of that, I don't speak Italian, at least not fluently. Thankfully, I've been able to pick up on a few words and phrases, but obviously I can't, hold an entire conversation or conduct a meeting in Italian. So sometimes just, things don't necessarily translate one-to-one from one language to the other. So things can be misinterpreted or things get lost in translation. So that can be a challenge at times, but even communicating with colleagues, in Asia, in Middle East, I think learning to speak slowly and to articulate definitely helps for somebody else to understand you and vice versa. Because I know, especially like New Yorkers, they're moving a mile a minute. You might be speaking very quickly, but really taking the time to slow down, I think definitely helps to kind of bridge the gap. And using hand gestures a lot, I think also helps to get the point across. So those are two challenges, working for a global company.
Thank you. And then what advice, because what we have here are audience of high school students who are interested in being exactly where you are. So what advice do you have for those students who wish to explore career options in the international business sector? What can they be doing now to prepare themselves as far as, you know, now in high school, and even, you know, what should they be looking for or trying to accomplish with their collegiate studies also?
So of course, education is, extremely crucial. So, taking your education seriously, and giving 100%, and 100% doesn't necessarily mean that you have to make all A's and B's, but I think just giving 100% effort to your education and learning as much as you can, because a lot of this is going to be foundational for your professional experience, as well as, transitioning to college or a trade school or whatever that next phase may be. But yeah, education is key. It's important. Something that I think about from time to time is that, I went to public school for the majority of my educational career, and I was afforded the opportunity to go to Tulane University, which is, definitely a blessing. But I was just a regular public school kid, and I didn't do like amazing on the ACT. I never took the SAT, so I don't know what my score would have been. But to think that, although, I guess from a societal perspective, I was just an average student, I am still, working for a global company where, there are people who went to Ivy League schools and, have all these advanced degrees. So saying all of that to say that, like, you can still be quote unquote ordinary and do extraordinary things. So that's definitely something that I want, you guys to really to think about and consider. You don't have to just be your own personal best. You know, being the best is very subjective, and it has a very kind of strict criteria, but we all have the potential to do amazing things. So just keep that in mind. I would also say to, get as much work experience as you can. I started working in high school just to kind of get more work experience. I also want to buy my own clothes. So that was another motivating factor for me getting a job. But just kind of like learning, what it's like to be in a work environment, and just, having to be responsible and accountable. So just kind of learning some of those like fundamental things in terms of, what it's like to be an employee, and or a good employee at that, and just getting some work experience under your belt, ideally in an area that you're interested in. And again, if those of you who are transitioning to college next, I highly recommend doing as many internships as you can, because internships are really, kind of it helps you to, build a network of people who are in the industry that you want to be in. And it really is almost, kind of a gateway into some corporate and full-time opportunities, especially if you do a great job, you have a strong work ethic, and you're showing that you're passionate about what you do and you're eager to learn. So doing as many internships as possible, because it also helps you to figure out like what you like and what you don't like, because the things that I've interned in, I'm not necessarily doing right now in my day-to-day job. So it's also kind of like, a low stakes environment to really figure out if this is the industry for you, and if it is, kind of like what you want to do within that industry. So I think those are all good things to you can start working on, and thinking about now.
Awesome. I want to thank you so much for giving us these nuggets of advice and just a bit of your time today to share with our students your experiences and some great advice, which sounds to me like you're saying just remain open to the possibilities. Don't ever limit yourself, and don't let anyone limit you. And
Yes,
hard work pays off.
it really
We are
does.
so proud of you, and I wish you the best in your future endeavors. Thank you so much for joining us, Miss Oliver.
Thank you so much for having me, Kiana.
exchange, or Forex, is a global market for exchanging national currency with one another, like trading a US dollar for a euro. Foreign exchange transactions take place on the foreign exchange market, also known as the Forex market. It's the largest, most liquid market in the world, with trillions of dollars exchanging hands every day. There is no Forex centralized location, but rather an electronic network of banks, brokers, institutions, and individual traders. The market determines the value, also known as the exchange rate, of the majority of currencies. Foreign exchange can be as simple as changing one currency for another at a local bank. It can also involve trading currency on the foreign exchange market. When trading, currencies are listed in pairs, like the US dollar versus the Canadian dollar. For example, a Forex trader is betting that a central bank will ease or tighten monetary policy, which in turn could strengthen one currency versus the other. If the number 1.2569 were next to our example of USD CAD, that would mean that it currently costs 1.2569 Canadian dollars to buy one US dollar. If that price increases, it means the price of the US dollar has increased in value. The Forex market is open 24 hours a day, 5 days a week across the globe. So you can buy or sell currencies at any time during the day.
Hello, my name is Greg Paris, and I'm a Senior Vice President at a large global bank. Today, I'm going to provide an introduction to the foreign exchange market, also known as the Forex or FX market. Now, what is foreign exchange? Let's take a step back. Here in the United States, we use the US dollar to buy and sell goods and services. Food, clothing, cars, rent, utilities are all bought using the US dollar because the US dollar is the legal currency of the United States. Now, let's suppose you want to travel to a different country. Let's say we're going to jolly old England. The US dollar would do you no good once you got there. You'd need to get your hands on the legal currency of England, called the pound sterling, or also known as the British pound. Now, foreign exchange is the way we exchange one currency for another currency. In this case, we need to exchange US dollars for British pounds. This process is usually handled by banks, and each day the banks will post the foreign exchange rate or the cost to exchange one currency for another. This is sometimes called the FX rate. I travel internationally a lot. When I arrive at a new country, I find that the easiest way to get the legal currency for the country that I'm in is to go to the ATM of a local major bank. Now, the international banking system is very sophisticated with the ability to connect ATM networks all around the world. And using my ATM card, I'm able to get local currency when I need it, and US dollars are deducted from my account at the current exchange rate. Now I have British pounds to spend locally while visiting in England. Let's look at another example. Let's say a US company has employees in Tokyo. Somebody must make sure the payroll can be made, and those employees must be paid in local currency, which is the Japanese yen in this case. The company will usually have two banks, one in the United States and one in Japan. The role of the company's treasurer is to make sure there's enough money in the right currency in the right place when it's necessary to pay their obligations. The corporate treasurer would call his or her US bank and request the exchange of US dollars for Japanese yen. The US dollars would be deducted from the company's US bank account, and a deposit in Japanese yen would be placed in the company's Japanese bank account at an agreed upon exchange rate or FX rate. Let's look at one final example. Some market participants buy and sell foreign currencies as a way of speculating. They would buy a specific currency with the hopes that it would increase in value and that they can sell it at a profit sometime in the future. To make all these processes happen smoothly, the banks have foreign exchange, sales, and trading desks. You would be quoted a spot rate if the transaction is for immediate settlement, or you would be quoted a forward rate if the transaction is for future settlement. These transactions are known as spot and forward contracts. This has been a brief introduction to the Forex market, and I hope it gave you a good understanding of how currencies work across the globe. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Lisa Johnson, a member of the Bold City chapter of the Links Incorporated out of Jacksonville, Florida. I am pleased to have with us today Mr. Pfeiffer Turner, a graduate of Howard University, where he studied business management. After graduation, Pfeiffer joined Google and has worked on a number of projects ranging from building diversity recruitment strategies for the United States and the Asia Pacific to creating programs to close the digital divide in underserved communities. Mr. Pfeiffer Turner, welcome.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to the chat.
Excellent. So Pfeiffer, let's start off by having you share how your journey began in the area of business and technology.
Sure, happy to. So I joined Google my junior year as an intern. I joined the global ad operations team, and essentially I was responsible for ensuring that businesses that advertise on Google have a really good return on their investment when they're using our product. So if you ever search on Google, you see ads on the right or on the top of the screen, or maybe watch a YouTube video and see an ad before. My team was responsible for ensuring that business had their ads there and they were getting the return on the investment that they were looking for. So I started as an intern doing that type of work and returned to that role full time after graduation. While I really enjoyed helping businesses, I found that my passion really was for some of my 20% projects. At Google, 20% projects allow you to work on things outside of your core responsibilities. So for me, I helped lead the Google Network. I also worked on projects that help close the digital divide in underserved communities, helping businesses in the Michigan Black Chamber of Commerce get online. Things of that were really where my passion lied. So I decided to move to a role that I had a little bit more impact. So that's when I moved to California, where I joined as a diversity channel specialist. In that role, I really focused on ensuring that Google's workforce really reflected the people we serve. So we want to recruit people from all different types of backgrounds and experiences because we're building products and services for everyone. So we need everyone to join us in helping us build those products and services. So that was actually the first time I worked internationally. And from there, I moved to a program manager in my current role, where I ensure that interns have a great experience when they come to work here at Google. And that's for our 5,000 plus interns around the globe.
Wow, that's excellent. It's perfect because the audience that you're talking to today are high school students all over the United States, some of which look just like you. Being that you're the product of one of our most prestigious HBCUs, Howard University, how do you feel your education there prepared you for a career in international business?
That's a great question, Lisa. How it prepared me in a lot of different ways. I'll highlight a few here. I think one of the biggest ones is just collaboration and teamwork. At Howard University in the School of Business, we work on projects with team members, and you really have to learn how to work together. You're working with people with different working styles and different backgrounds. And you have to be able to come together and work towards a common goal. And that's super important when you're working across the globe with people who have different experiences. So that was one of the things that I learned at Howard University is collaboration. The other thing that I really picked up at Howard University, just the ability to manage multiple projects. We're doing things from case studies to research to business plans. And when you're working at Google, a lot of times you're switching tasks. So that was really important at Howard University's ability to work on various projects simultaneously and making sure you're getting the work done correctly.
Yeah, well, it sounds like, it definitely gave you the ability to have some real life experience in these case studies, but it also gave you some critical thinking skills, as well as the ability to manage your time effectively. Those were some of the key takeaways that I heard from you. In working in different countries, specifically you called out Asia Pacific, What was your most enriching experience working internationally there?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I worked in Singapore, I was responsible for helping build diversity strategies for the APAC market. And this was really rewarding because it opened my eyes to a whole new way of doing things and a whole new way of working and collaborating. I think sometimes you have a US centric view of the world and how things are being done, but working internationally really brings a different viewpoint. I think I was able to bring some best practices that worked well in the US in terms of recruitment strategies. And I was also able to learn a lot. For example, in the US, when we're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and hiring a diverse workforce, oftentimes we're talking about hiring more Black, women, and Latinx employees. Different countries in the Asia Pacific look at diversity inclusion totally different. For some countries, it's hiring more women. Other countries, they want to hire more nationals from their country. And some want to focus on hiring more veterans. So I was able to learn a lot of different things while I worked in the Asia Pacific. So it was really rewarding. Then also just the culture of living and working somewhere else was really rewarding. Trying different food, going to different places was really exciting for me.
What a great opportunity. On the flip side, can you share what the biggest challenge was that you faced working internationally?
Yes, I think one of the challenges when working internationally for a global company is trying to figure out when it makes the most sense to streamline and take a global view versus making a strategy that is specific for a specific country or a specific market. I'll give an example for my current role as a program manager on the intern team. We're responsible for ensuring that all of our interns globally have a great experience. One of the things we do is provide technical training and orientation to give interns a strong foundation for when they start their internships. So we really have to think, do we want to have a one size fit all? Every intern, whether you're in California or whether you're based in London, take the same training? And that it makes sense in some cases. There are different country specific nuances, even some language and vocabulary that we may use in the US that may not translate well overseas. So knowing when it's best to kind of take a global view to streamline things. So when you take a viewpoint of a more specific targeted approach, it's really hard to strike that balance. Also remembering that different countries and different teams have different resources available to build different products and strategies. You have to keep that in mind as well.
Excellent, excellent. As we wrap up today, what advice do you have for those who wish to explore career options in the international business sector and/or the field of technology?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say one of the things that really helped me land my first internship at Google was my involvement on campus at Howard University. I took on roles from being a resident assistant at Howard University. I also was the president for Society of Investment Management. That's an organization in the School of Business. And those projects and roles are really important because they help you build your leadership skills. They help you learn how to collaborate and work well with others. So all those opportunities are really important as you start to build your resume and start to explore different career opportunities.
Excellent, excellent advice. Piper, I don't know if you have any last piece of advice that you'd like to give the students as they begin to shape their roadmap. But if so, what would that be?
Yeah, the last thing that I'll say is, whatever job you have or whatever project you're working on, do that project or that job with pride. You never know where one opportunity will lead to another. As I mentioned, I started off in a sales type of role, then I moved to diversity and inclusion. Now I'm in program management. And I was able to transition into those different points in my career because every job and every role I took with pride. So I would say work hard at whatever you're doing, and then the next opportunity will come along your way.
Excellent advice. Mr. Piper Turner, it has certainly been a pleasure speaking with you today. Wishing you much continued success. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. You have a great day.
You as well. am Brenda Belcito. I am the Southern Area International Trends and Services Facet Chair. And with me, I have Miss Haley Dunson. Haley is a graduate of Howard University who majored in chemistry. She is now an international student studying at I.F.E, International Flavors and Fragrances, headquartered in New York, New York. However, she's studying in Versailles, France. Greetings, Haley.
Greetings. Hello.
So, my first question for you, Haley, is your study at Howard in pursuit of your chemistry major must have been somewhat difficult. How did you manage to overcome that with such a glowing finish?
Studying chemistry was definitely hard, but I was able to stay close with my other fellow chemistry majors and kind of balance out my life, and we would just look out for each other when it came to school.
I think that's a very wise approach, especially since our society today expects accomplishments in the professional environment to be completed in teams. So kudos to you in that regard. Now, tell me, what is your biggest obstacle while you've been studying abroad?
I would say my biggest challenge when studying internationally is kind of being in new and uncomfortable spaces and having to deal with other people's projections of their perception of you, which can be good and bad. And just understanding that at the end of the day, the only opinion about you that really matters is the one that you have about yourself, and that you don't have to internalize other people's perceptions of you.
Thank you for that. One last question, Haley. What advice, if any, would you give to any high school student who is interested in pursuing an international career or who is interested in studying abroad?
Even if there's a small part of you that has thought about or considered studying abroad, you should do it, because it takes you out of your comfort zone in a way that makes you grow into a new version of yourself, and you learn about what really matters to you as an individual, and it sharpens your direction in life.
Thank you. Ms. Haley Dunson is studying perfumery, as I said, and her ultimate goal at this time is to become a perfumer. So thank you for being a trailblazer, Haley, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Haley and I'm from Atlanta, Georgia in the United States. I have a degree in chemistry from Howard University in Washington, D.C. And I love smelling things. My dad's a dentist, so for the longest time, I was like, I'm gonna go to dental school. And then I thought about pharmacy for a little bit, but I was like, I don't think any of these career paths are gonna fit me and make me happy in the long run. And so I spoke with someone who was a flavor chemist, and she told me about what she does. And then she talked about scent chemistry, and that there's people who are chemists who make perfumes for all of the fashion houses and everything. And I was like, that sounds amazing. Don't know how to get into that. And then she told me about I.F.E. I think it came through cooking, especially starting off when I was younger. I love cooking. I love mixing stuff in the kitchen, like making stuff from like anything from scratch, experimenting and making interesting things. But when I'm cooking, when I'm deciding if I want to add an ingredient or add a seasoning into it, I'm always going to smell it first before I put it in to see if it'll mix well with the flavors. And so that's really how it started for me, with food and herbs and spices is what I really started smelling. I I feel like a trailblazer. It's really empowering to me. As a Black person who's who's kind of like a pioneer in any type of industry, you have to have thick skin. You have to be able to deal with people who are not going to like you and have things to say about you, and let it kind of roll off and keep moving and know that you're strong on the inside and you're a great person on the inside, and what they have to say doesn't really matter. If you feel like you don't know what you want to do with your life, keep looking. There's always going to be something that really fits who you are and who you feel like you can be able to grow into as a person throughout your life. And I would say that we need more of you guys, and that when you move into your career, like, you have to carry every part of you with you and really cherish it and bring it into the industry, because that's the point of making it diverse, is that as we diversify the industry, we reach new places where we can go creatively, because we're bringing in different types of perspectives and talents and cultures and experiences.
Greetings, young scholars. I'm Dr. Jody Douglas Turner. I recently retired from UNC Charlotte, where I held the positions of Associate Director of Multicultural Academic Services and Coordinator of the university's NC-LSAMP program for students in STEM. I also served as the Director of Career Planning and Placement at Johnson C. Smith University. My task today is to take you on a fantastic voyage, or if you prefer, a guided fantasy. First, I want you to sit or lay down in a quiet, comfortable area. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. Think of a place abroad that you would like to visit, work, play, or live. Think of some of the sights you may see, sounds you may hear, or smells like bread, cakes, or even pizza, but it all seems so different in this new place. Think of the differences in the architecture of the buildings, the streets, the public transportation, the people, how they wear their hair, their clothing, the aura of it all. Just imagine you're in a different place. What is the first thing you would do, or the most important thing for you to do or see? Just think about it. Now, how would you get there? How much would it cost? Where would you live, study, or work? Are you with a group, or are you by yourself? How long did it take you to reach your destination? Did you fly, travel by boat, train, or car? Who is traveling with you, or who do you miss already? These are questions you should ask when you think about traveling abroad, going to a new place. What would be the purpose of your travel? Is it to study a particular subject or support a church or humanitarian mission? Or it could be an internship, or you could be in the armed forces, which includes the Coast Guard and Office of the Surgeon General, or something like the Peace Corps, or a school band trip. Just where would you travel and how would you get there? And how do you survive? Some of this doesn't matter, but you always have to apply for a position or a spot in these circumstances. In some instances, you may be paid, but others you must seek funding through scholarships, loans, or other avenues of support. There are resources available, but you must seek them out. I suggest that you prepare a personal statement or even plan a project that you can discuss with someone who's interviewing you about traveling abroad. Your college advisor, high school counselor, minister, congressional representative, and even family and friends can help you find opportunities and funding. However, you can't wait to the last minute. You also can't wait to obtain and organize your travel documents. Make sure you review the entry and exit requirements of the host country. Requirements can include proof of traveler citizenship, birthplace, reason for traveling, which includes study versus work, paid versus unpaid, and duration of stay. It can take up to 8 weeks to receive a passport. Prices include an application fee and executive acceptance fees, which range from $30 to $130, depending on whether you purchase a card, a book, or a book and the card. No emergency protocols, and if you can't afford it, purchase some international health insurance. If you are traveling abroad, you can also download the Alert Travelers app, which is a risk management mobile application that provides country and city intelligence, safety, and security alerts. This app is usually restricted and connected to university students who are traveling abroad. It assesses the emergency, tells users when and where to secure themselves, and communicates with the on-site coordinator, the U.S. Embassy consulate, and other authorities as needed. There is also a STEP program, which is sponsored by the state government, the United States government. STEP stands for Smart Traveler Enrollment Program, and it will allow you to receive safety and travel updates while you're abroad. Contact your parents if necessary, if you enter your travel itinerary and your contact information, and it's free. The internet is also an excellent resource for locating a large number of study abroad opportunities and scholarships. Many of these scholarships allow you to apply directly online. You can apply for dozens of scholarships in a few short hours. However, the one downfall is that the larger the application pool, the wider your chances are to be awarded. But remember, you have to be in it to win it. Some places that you can look include the travel.state government website, the goabroad.com, How It Works website, Global Volunteers website. A list of resources will be available for you from the module facilitator with an accompanying worksheet. I also want to tell you 10 things to think about as you prepare and travel abroad. You'll gain a better appreciation of your home. You can take a class abroad that you can't take at home. You can learn history where it occurred. You can increase your adaptability, become more independent, advance your future career, learn another language, experience living somewhere rather than visiting, explore new places, and meet new people. And people make the experience. So good luck with your travels. Read, relax, and relate. Read as much as you can about the culture, the lifestyle, and economy of the places you plan to go. Research for ways to relax in the new environment. Take in the monuments, the food, the entertainment, the community activities, and last but not least, relate to people and the history so that you can learn outside the classroom and your comfort level. You may discover lifelong friends and future colleagues. Again, good luck in your travels. Thank you.